Hello and welcome to the Anxiety Project channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 3 steps towards anxiety recovery. The 3 first steps. When I was going through anxiety years ago, I didn't know what to do. I actually reached rock bottom. And I was ashamed of myself. I felt guilty. I was scared. I was terrified. I thought I was going crazy. I was sensitized to the state of my health. I thought my health was poor. I thought I was going to die on a day-to-day basis. This is health anxiety. And this health anxiety was just a constant cycle. When I would Google a symptom, that would, and mind you, when you Google a symptom, that Google search will pop up the most severe cases. If you have a headache, you Google headache, and then it comes up as brain tumor, and then you're freaking out, and that strong emotional attachment to the thought of it being a brain tumor, that gets stored within you, and now you associate headaches to brain tumors. And this was me. I was Googling it, and I was Googling pain in my right side, and the first thing that came up was kidney disease. And I was like, oh my God, I have that. And I reacted so emotionally to that, where I was ruminating over it for days, and I was scared. I went to the hospital. I went to my doctor, and my doctor in the hospital said, Brad, everything checks out, you know. We did a urine test. We did blood tests. You're okay. Okay, well, I still have the pain, so I'm not okay. So that left me completely confused. I was bewildered. I was catastrophizing over everything. And I felt depleted. I felt emotionally depleted. And my girlfriend almost left me at the time because of how much I wasn't there for her and how much I was suffering. And she didn't understand what I was going through, and I wasn't there for her. She needed me at one point in her life, and I wasn't there for her because I was too busy being internal about my sensations and about my anxiety, and I was too fearful of everything in my life. I was afraid to leave the house because of having a heart attack in public. I was afraid of being out of my safe zone, far away from the paramedics, far away from family, and I was living in hell. So the first step to overcoming anxiety is admitting to yourself that there's a problem. So I remember the day where I woke up after a terrible night's sleep. I was having night terrors, and I couldn't even eat breakfast, and I was scared, and I couldn't live another day like this. So I said to myself, Brad, there's a problem here. There's a problem. You have to figure this out. Nobody else understands what I'm going through. Family doesn't understand. Friends, they don't understand. Relationships, they don't understand. So I have to figure this out. So out of desperation, I went on Google. I went on YouTube to find people who went through anxiety. But before that, I had to admit to myself that I am the cause of this. I'm causing this. And this brings us into the second step, and that is understanding that change is possible. You can change. And to find that out, what I did was, when I was doing my research, finding people who've been through the same thing I was going through, I found people. I found people that are practitioners and coaches and psychologists and mentors, and I found people that went through horrible anxiety, health anxiety specifically. And I started to listen to them, listen to their podcasts, watch their videos. And then I found out that they changed and I related to them. They went through the same thing I was going through. And that's why I am doing the YouTube channel. And that's why I am doing the Anxiety Project podcast. It's because there's not enough content out there to relate to. And I was struggling to find people at the time that I related to. So this is why I'm coaching other people. This is why anxiety found me. Anxiety found me. So now I can provide my knowledge and my experience going through health anxiety, going through anxiety. People relate to me. It resonates with them. And that's what I found. That's what I find most satisfying about my coaching is people understand me. Everything that I say resonates with them. It connects with them. So I get thousands of responses of people, Brad, your content relates so much to what I'm going through. You speak the truth. And that's what's missing, the truth. So, and that's all I want to do with my podcast, the channel. Speak the truth. Lay out, how do you overcome anxiety? Because I was struggling to figure out anxiety. And when I found people on the internet, podcasts, coaches, psychologists, they spoke to me. They went through the same thing that I went through. And that's what really connected me to them. And that's why I do what I do now. So when I started listening to the podcasts, the videos, everything kind of clicked together. I'm like, oh my God, I have a problem. I caused this. I have to take on responsibility for my anxiety. And everything just seemed to make sense. It's like it was truth that I knew to be true, but I didn't know about. It made sense that I wasn't taking on responsibility. It made sense that I was living in constant chaos and I was engaging in poor habits and poor eating patterns, and I wasn't pursuing what I really wanted in my life, and I wasn't stepping out into the unknown. I was taking everything so easily, and I wasn't challenging myself. Those were only a few realizations, and everything just blew up. Everything blew up. And this brings us into the third stage in the beginning stages of anxiety recovery, and that is willing to take on new information. You have to be willing to accept this new information that's being presented to you. I was willing. When I was going through the first stages of anxiety recovery, I was desperate. I knew at the time that I didn't want to live like this anymore. I wanted to take control of my life. I wanted to have confidence. And I was desperate. I was looking for answers online because these answers never presented themselves to me in the past. I never knew that there was an actual step-by-step approach to to living a better life, to living a more fulfilled life. And I didn't even know I was suffering from anxiety all of this time. I didn't even know what health anxiety was. So when they were talking about health anxiety, health anxiety is ruminating over one's health and catastrophizing over situations. And then these physical sensations within the body are a result of the fight, flight, and freeze response. And all of this stuff was like, oh my God, it makes sense. It makes sense that these sensations, they're not a real health issue that's in my head. And this blew my mind. And I was willing to take on these coaches and these psychologists, and I was willing to take in their information because they related to me. And so I was already there. I was already, you know what? I know nothing. I know nothing. Like Jon Snow in Game of Thrones. You know nothing, Jon Snow. I still say that to myself. I still say, Brad, as far as I've came with anxiety, I know nothing. And when I say that to myself, I'm putting aside my ego. As much as I know when it comes to coaching and when it comes to CBT and NLP, all the work that I've done so far, I don't let my ego get in the way. I'm always willing to let new information come in. I want to learn from you. I want to learn from people I interact with on the street. I want to take something away from each conversation. So I always tell myself, Brad, you know nothing. There's so much to learn. There's so much to grasp. And that's what I did when starting my recovery. I opened my world up. Brad, you have to start from ground zero. You have to start from the bottom. So let's start to learn. And then I started to get myself knowledgeable about anxiety. Okay, what's anxiety? What's health anxiety? Let's study it. Let's listen to podcasts. There's an awesome interview with Margot Robbie, and she talks about her role. I think it's I, Tonya, where she talks about how she studied for the role. And this reminded me of my anxiety recovery. What she did to study for the role, the character, she listened to tapes of the figure skater, the real life figure skater, as she went to bed. So she was listening and studying this character every waking moment. This is what she said. She said she studied the character every waking moment so she can just live the character and be the character. And that's what anxiety recovery is all about. It's about being this new character. You're studying for a movie role. You're studying to be someone else. You're molding this new person. So when I started recovery, I just started to learn. I'm like, okay, what's anxiety? Listen to these podcasts, watch videos, read these books, study on Google, the internet, and just learn. And I was driven to be this new person because I saw that it's possible. I went through severe health anxiety and anxiety, and I got over it, and I got to a better place in my life. And it's all because of the hard work, the dedication. I didn't want to live that life anymore. So I attached so much pain to not changing. And then I attached pleasure to the goal, the vision I had for myself. You know what? I want to be like this actor. I want to be like Tony Robbins or Russell Brand or Wim Hof, these spiritual, confident human beings that can speak clearly and help other people go through life challenges. And I wanted to be like them, and I studied them, and I listened to them over and over and over again. And I constantly I was constantly carrying around a notebook of notes from like Tony Robbins' podcast. I would carry around notes of his podcast, and I would study the notes, and I would study other coaches' notes, and I would constantly be I would constantly subject myself to these role models all the time, all day long, every day, because I knew that my old self is no good. That person is not doing me any good. That person is just anxious and has no self-worth, and they just can't seem to speak and be social, and that person's not even a social butterfly, and I don't want to be that. So I started to watch videos of people who are confident and study them and start acting like them and mirror what they're doing. You know, fake it until you make it type of idea. You know, just, you know, the more you do it, the more you believe it to be true. And that's number 3 is, you know, accept that you know nothing, and then start from there. Start from ground zero. Start learning. Open up your horizon and get yourself knowledgeable. And be careful of the ego. You know, I still tell myself all the time, you know, Brad, you know nothing. There's always something to learn from somebody. And I always appreciate that. And I always look out for that. When I speak to you, when I speak to people on the street, coworkers, friends, family, there's always something to learn in any situation. And I appreciate that. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's video. If you have any questions, comment below. Ask me a question. I will answer it on a future podcast. I will answer it in another video. I will answer it even in the comments section. So thank you. Please leave a question or a comment. Do not let anxiety define who you are. I will see you on the next video. Goodbye, everybody.